It's Barbenheimer.
So just a peek behind the curtain, Zoom didn't transmit any of what that was.
Oh no. Okay. So what I played was Barbie Girl. So it was just her saying, "I'm
Ah,
a Barbie girl in a Barbie world," and then a clip from an atomic bomb test.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense because
Hmm.
I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we have is Barbenheimer, folks. We did
It's
it.
we fucking did it for you, for the fans at home, and also because it was fun. But
Yeah, it was 6 hours of sit.
of sit and yeah, watch 6 hours
Hmm.
to sit and watch. Sam, I'm dying to hear how your experience was because yesterday, for some context, we watched Oppenheimer first, followed by Barbie, which is the correct order
Hmm.
for sure. Do
And
not do this in the opposite direction.
and what was intended, obviously because they are one film.
They are one film, yes. So we watched the first part of the
Hmm.
movie, the 3 hours, and then
Yes.
quickly sort of said goodbye so we could run back and eat some lunch and then run back to the movie post intermission to watch the rest of the film. The 2 hour chunk, the pink
Hmm.
2 hour chunk.
Yes.
And then immediately afterward, we sort of left and I didn't get to really say goodbye to you. So
No, because I was about to piss myself.
yeah, yeah, you were rightfully urinating. So
The end of the movie became a bit of a challenge run for your boy
I
because
see.
um I was like, I waited too long. So now we've gotten to a critical point in this film that I can't miss.
Yeah.
And I will if I go pee. So I gotta hold it. And hold it I did, but I like blew past you in the lobby and just was like, gotta get to this turlet, and peed for a good long while. Felt good. It
Nice.
was nice.
Nice. Yeah, so what was your cumulative, I mean, six, because it's 30 minutes of previews and then 5 hours of movie,
Hmm.
30 minutes of previews again, at the second chunk. So what was your 6 hour experience like?
So I was thinking about it, and I think it was actually closer to like 8 hours total that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got to the McKenna and I got to the theater parking lot around, oh, I don't know, maybe like 11:15 or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Quickly scarfed lunch in the car, big beautiful Hyundai Tucson, and then we went into the movie, and then we left the theater around 7 p.m.,
Mm,
7:15 ish.
yeah. Yep.
So did a full work shift,
Yeah.
um, without
Yeah.
leaving the theater.
Yeah.
Um, I will say I was worried. I was worried going into this that it was going to be too much. And I
Yes.
was worried at this movie's bewildering hour and a half intermission.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough time to like go to a sit down restaurant,
Yes.
which maybe is the intention of Barbenheimer, is to give you the chance to go away, process the first 3 hours,
Hmm.
eat a really big lunch, and then dive back into the remaining 2 hours.
It's odd because what we did was we stood around the theater for a minute, decided no, we're not gonna play the arcade games because we don't have any cash.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we sat in the big beautiful Hyundai Tucson for an hour and a half.
I was gonna ask what you did because again, I went home in the
Hmm.
intermission
Yeah.
and uh actually made a trip to Target to get some foodstuffs and then
Mm.
came back.
Okay.
It was really tight. Actually, the trip to Target was not advisable. But yeah, we ate lunch. So you just sat in the big beautiful Hyundai Tucson for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I thought about leaving, but then I thought
Mm-hmm.
maybe I won't come back.
I see. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah. So, and honestly, had we done it in the reverse order, the way the directors did not intend, I
Yeah.
don't think I would have come back.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Um, so yeah, no, we just sat in the Tucson, hanging out, cooling off, and then back into the theater we went.
Mm-hmm.
Where again, odd choice, they played previews again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get that ad revenue where you can.
Sure,
You got to make
I
sure the theater's happy.
I will say, very happy to note that the second half of the movie did not show Nuvi ahead of time.
Yes, we dodged Maria Menounos.
For a second time, we did see her earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the first time they played previews, we did
she
in
was
fact
there,
see Maria Menounos.
and I don't know why she wasn't there for the second half.
Yeah, maybe she's been sort of let go. Maybe in the space between the
Mm,
first showing and the second
in
showing,
that hour and a half.
she was let go. And you know how like when you quit a job
Mm-hmm.
and they like immediately lock you out of your computer
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and your email and stuff. Maybe that's what they did with Maria Menounos. They chopped all the footage immediately. Um,
I hope so, because the other explanation is that they felt that thematically it made more sense to have Maria Menounos before the first half of this film
yeah,
than it would be for the second, which makes no sense.
it makes no sense whatsoever.
None.
Yeah,
None. I will say during the intermission, I was very tired. I was
yeah,
so tired, my guy. Uh, had to fight not to fall asleep in the big, beautiful Hyundai Tucson. So comfortable is it.
yeah. It is a very comfortable vehicle. So,
But yeah, how was your sort of watch experience for this 6 hours of sit?
turns out 6 hours of sit is fucking exhausting.
It's a lot of work. It is a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
work.
because we did the first half,
Mm-hmm.
um, the first three fifths. Um, and my dude, we went back and I very seriously considered texting you and saying that I could not attend the last two fifths. But then I would have watched half of Barbenheimer.
Mm-hmm. And spent what, like $60 on tickets?
Yeah,
Yeah.
$70 total
Mm-hmm.
for the whole thing. It is an expensive movie to see Barbenheimer.
Yes, it
So
is.
it was, roughly like $22 a person times three plus taxes. um it's a lot. So I didn't want to do that, but god damn I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't particularly looking forward to the final two fifths, but we did schlep it back to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
um and by the end of it I just wanted to go home.
That was clear to me. Uh,
Yeah. Sorry to just like
oh no,
Irish
you're
goodbye.
fine. Because we joined a kind of a larger group of friends
Yeah.
for the second half of the movie. And when I went to pee, I was like, well, surely Luke will hang around. I'll get to like say bye to him. And I came out of that toilet a new man, first of
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah.
And you were nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
And
we were gone.
and I learned later that Kenna was like, "Oh, Luke said bye." By the way.
Yeah. I felt bad because not only because we joined this larger group of friends, I did not socialize a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had just watched 3 hours of movie
Mm-hmm.
and then had to sort of rush home and then rush back. And I was preparing myself mentally for another 2 hours of movie.
Right.
And so I was not in a good headspace. And then by the end of it, I was even in an even worse headspace
Mm-hmm.
and was ready to just go home. Literally got home and Rumi asked, "Do you want to watch anything while we eat?" And I said, "No. For once in my life, I would rather stare at a wall
Mm-hmm.
standing because I've been
Yes.
sitting. I did sit for 6 hours.
Right.
Uh, so that's what we did. We ate in silence and stared into the middle distance,
Oof.
just happy that it wasn't a screen that I was staring at.
That's grim.
It's pretty grim. And then I went to sleep. So
I just okay. So I have a handful of questions. One,
yeah.
did you find your ass hurt?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, those chairs are very plush, but man, they are not meant to be sat in for 3 hours and then also disappear for an hour and a half and then come back and sit in them again for 2 hours.
Honestly, I think my back hurt more
Yeah.
than my ass did, just because there are reclining seats at the theater that we go to.
Hmm.
They sort of recline all the way, so you can essentially be almost horizontal.
Hmm.
But I found that position over the course of 6 hours, not quite fully horizontal, did sort of have an impact on my
Yeah.
lumbar.
Yeah. I did not do the full recline because I was like, especially for the second half, because I was like, I am tired enough
Yeah,
that if I do a full recline, I'm gone.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so no, I just kind of lifted the feet.
yeah.
That's all.
Nice.
Um, my other question
Mm-hmm.
is when you returned from our again bizarre intermission, which I also want to point out that sort of like old direct flights, which are different from nonstop flights, we left the theater and then came back to a different one. And
Okay.
that was sort of strange because Luke, I don't know if you ever did a direct flight because they weren't very common
No.
back in the day, but it was like you would book a ticket from like say Little Rock to New York,
Albuquerque. Okay,
Albuquerque,
sure. New York's
and
better.
so it would be one flight, one plane, but you would stop in a city where the plane would then take on more people.
Oh, I have done these. Yes.
Yeah, this was like a direct flight in movie form,
Yeah,
where it was like
absolutely.
we stopped somewhere so the movie could refuel, and
Yeah.
then more people came onto our movie.
Which was extremely weird because you'd think it would be the same group.
Right.
And actually, some people I ran into while buying snacks for the first movie, or excuse me, for the first 3/5 of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
did say that they saw already the last 2/5 of the movie.
Bad choice.
Bad choice. They saw it in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really confusing to me because then they sort of pre-boarded the chunk of the
Yeah.
flight and then just like skip lagged the rest
It's
of it.
like they got on from like Dallas to Albuquerque and then somehow teleported to Little Rock
Yeah,
and flew Little Rock to Dallas.
yeah, yeah,
And then we're like, we're here.
yeah. It was really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all that to say, my experience was I think I had fun,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of work. I think the problem, Sam, is that after 3 years of doing this,
Mm-hmm.
I have become conditioned to there's a state of mind in which I think I have to watch this movie.
Yes.
Not I'm choosing to watch this movie. I have to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything over 2 hours or approaching 2 hours, I have an allergic reaction to.
Yeah, you have gotten really, really sensitive
Yes.
to a longer flick.
Yeah. Movies should be an hour and a half. I don't know when that stopped being the standard. Now it's 2 hours.
Yeah, it
And
would be
it's
nice.
now it's too long. And in this case, watching 6 hours, excuse me, 5 hours of movies, 6 hours plus the previews with the
Hmm.
previews is man, it was daunting. It was a daunting task.
Okay, so this was my other question.
Yeah.
Is during the bewildering intermission while the movie was being refueled,
Yeah.
when we reconvened, did you notice a change in me?
Not particularly.
Okay, okay. I wondered if there was any sort of noticeable difference in who I had become.
Well, kind of, because I think you were in the same headspace as me, which
Hmm.
is resigned to our fate.
Yeah.
We had to finish the movie, Barbenheimer 2023.
Hmm.
Um, we had to finish it. There was no way out of it. We were both there at the gates, ready to do it.
Tickets already purchased.
Tickets already purchased, but yeah, there was a resignation in you,
Can
I
I tell
think.
you?
Mm-hmm.
When we finished the first 3/5 of the movie, Ken and I got in the car, sat down in the big, beautiful Hyundai Tucson, and I said, I don't know about this. I do not know about this.
Yeah.
Um, for a couple reasons. Because one was grueling.
Yes.
The other is a lot more people were doing this than I thought.
Lots.
A lot
Yeah.
of people. I kind of figured most people would be smart enough not to do this, not to
Yeah.
hurt themselves with the movie. But a lot of people did.
Yeah. Lots of people, because again, flying from here to Albuquerque,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people in the stop in, let's say, Oklahoma City,
Mm-hmm.
you'd expect them to, some people to get off,
Sure. Yeah.
because that's their final destination, maybe the first 3/5 of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
No, dude, lots
No,
of people continued.
a strange choice, to be sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just now could you have imagined if we recorded after?
I It would be a very different episode.
It would be the lowest energy recording we've ever done. Just miserable.
Just two people mumbling into a microphone back
Mm-hmm.
and forth, not really having a conversation, just
Like
sort of,
avoiding eye contact,
yeah.
clearly fighting off sleep,
Yeah.
just you know, punching in.
Yeah. Putting in the time,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Luke, would you like to break down the plot of 2023's Barbenheimer?
Sure.
Okay.
So the first 3/5 of the movie is a biopic of Oppenheimer,
Mm-hmm.
the guy Robert Oppenheimer, uh, who made the atomic bomb or led the Manhattan Project, and it sort of takes a look at his background, and the process that led to the creation of the atomic bomb, and then a lot of the aftermath, where he plays into the politics of arms control and policy making. So yeah, that was sort of the first 3/5.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2/5 is a hard turn,
Very hard.
a very hard turn into a movie featuring someone called Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of pink. Barbie is a doll, and wrap your head around this one. People in the real world play with these dolls,
Mm-hmm.
with the Barbie dolls. And then there is Barbie World, which is sort of like the platonic ideal
Yes.
of these dolls, and they all exist in their own world. And Barbie starts to experience thoughts of death and sort of foreboding.
Which I think is an important through line in this film
Yes. Yeah.
is a meditation on death.
Yeah, I think that in the first 3/5, they focus a lot on the death toll of the atomic bomb and the
Mm-hmm.
consequences. And I think that blast is what really kicks off. I know that they say it's the person playing with the doll in the real world that
Mm-hmm.
imbues Barbie with the sense of death. Um, but I think it's really the atomic blast, the two atomic blasts in Japan, that really kickstart Barbie's
Yeah.
sort of walk down an existential road. So Barbie and Ken, played by Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie, do go into the real world, and then hijinks ensue. There's a lot of talk about gender disparity, like
Mm-hmm.
gender inequality. It's pretty brutal stuff, which they didn't touch on at all in the first 3/5 of the movie.
Weirdly, no.
Yeah, it wasn't a theme. It was really, the first one's really more of a political drama with some meditations on death. And then the second, the 2/5 of the movie that remain, really sort of focused on gender inequality and the experience of being a woman in our society.
I mean, I think both do talk about like politics and society because there's a lot of talk about like communism in the first three
Sure.
fifths. And I think there's sort of a progressivism, like a left leaning
Yeah.
sort of vibe to the last 2/5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then eventually, things are resolved in the Barbie world after the person playing with the Barbie doll and her daughter are brought into Barbie world. All of the Barbies have been brainwashed by the patriarchy. They fix that.
Hmm.
There's a big speech about being a woman. Um, Things are resolved when they return Barbie World to being a matriarchal society, basically.
Hmm.
And then some stuff happens with Ruth Handler, the creator of Barbie, sort
Hmm.
of Matrix style, in a
A
big
little
white
bit.
void. And then Barbie becomes a real human being
Hmm.
uh, and visits her gynecologist. And
Yes.
that's the end of the movie.
Hmm.
That's how they summed up or finished. That was the finish line of Barbenheimer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Luke, what'd you think?
Oh man, I didn't think about what I'd say at this
Hmm.
section.
Yeah.
Because there is no good, there is no bad. How to sum up 6 hours of film in a single word? Rocky.
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 Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. I might be inventing a word.
Okay. That's fine.
Dichotomous.
Dichotomous, indeed.
Yes.
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 Yeah. I think because I was gonna say ups and downs
Hmm.
for this experience. I like dichotomous a lot.
Hmm. Does it
Bifurcated.
does it sound a little bit like a dinosaur? Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
this is my Apatosaurus and my dichotomous.
Hmm.
I love them both. Thank you, Jurassic Park, for giving them to me.
Yes.
Um,
Um, yeah, so to go into the there is good and there is bad.
yeah.
Overall, eh,
Yeah.
I think so. As an
Hmm.
overall, if I have to take both halves into
Yeah.
account, sort of an eh.
Yeah. Sort of an eh. I would agree.
Yeah. Now, if we're going to talk about, you know, each, half
Yeah. Yeah. Let's take
separately.
it. Let's take it up to the. Let's take it up to the first intermission. What was your
Yeah.
feeling leaving in that first intermission?
Now, can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
It took me a long time to convince myself that Keanu Reeves was not going to be here today or yesterday.
Yeah.
I
I had
kept
the
thinking,
same thought.
I
Yeah.
was like, which half is he in? And then it
Yeah.
was neither. He's in neither.
Oh, interesting thing about this movie too that we forgot to mention is that the first 3/5 are a Nolan movie. It's directed by Nolan.
Hmm.
So the sum total flick 6 hours. The first 3 hours is directed by Nolan, and the last 2 hours is directed by Greta Gerwig.
Hmm.
So it kind of weird for a movie
It
to have two directors.
it reminds me of Grindhouse. That
Yeah,
that double feature that the old foot guy Quentin Tarantino
yeah.
did.
Bigfoot fan Quentin Tarantino
Hmm.
did. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, it was kind of like that. Also important, uh, none of the cast
Yeah,
uh, breaches that divide.
yeah. There's no overlap in cast
None.
between the first sort of 3/5 and the back 2/5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, if we're just talking about up to the intermission, um, took me a while to kind of figure out how I felt about it. It
sure.
was fine.
It was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, too long,
Oh
without a
yeah.
doubt. Without a doubt, far too long.
Yeah.
Um, what I liked about it was the bit about the Manhattan Project, like
Yes.
developing the bomb, all of that. I thought that was pretty well done.
Yeah.
The like courtroom drama, political thriller that was the last hour, wasn't looking for it,
Yeah.
didn't want it.
Didn't want it. No, I think I get okay. I'm a big fan of biography films,
Mm-hmm.
biopics, whatever you want to call them. Big fan of the genre, really like them. They gotta be tight. You gotta hit the highlights and the important pieces of someone's life. So I get that there's a part of Oppenheimer's life where he is blacklisted essentially
Mm-hmm.
and marginalized despite being a war hero. But that being said, I don't think it should have made the final cut.
No, and it's weird because like that last hour, it fully shifts perspectives
Yeah.
to Robert Downey Jr. being
Yeah.
kind of the main character.
Yeah, basically. I mean, he's essentially the end of the movie
Mm-hmm.
because he has a whole speech. Well, he's up for a cabinet nomination,
Yeah.
um, and there's a whole lot of political maneuvering centered around Oppenheimer and his treatment of Oppenheimer, and eventually he is not confirmed. And
Right.
so the essentially the last pieces of the movie are him not being confirmed, and then we get a brief look at Oppenheimer talking to Albert Einstein. And that's it.
Yeah.
So we do leave the movie with Oppenheimer, but only literally, not spiritually. I think spiritually the movie ends with RDJ.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Or excuse me, the first half of this movie
yeah, yeah,
ends.
yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Um, I I also don't know that it was that effective of a movie.
Yeah. I'd agree with
Um,
that.
because okay, there's just some real weirdness in this first half of the movie because it it jumps around a whole lot to the point where it starts feeling disjointed.
Oh, it's incredibly hard to follow, especially because so many of these dudes look like so many of these other dudes.
Okay, yes. So I was talking with a friend who actually saw both the films the day before, though
Okay.
he had dinner in between the two. Smart.
Oh, yes, smart.
Um, and he and I both were like, all these white dudes look the same. I thought Josh Peck played this like three different people
Yeah.
because they all look the fucking same.
Yeah, it's crazy because the cast is pretty stacked, but it's weird. A lot of the people like Josh Hartnett in this movie, Lawrence in the movie, the
Okay,
other
yeah.
professor guy,
Uh-huh.
um, everyone has sort of grown up. It's weird. They all look very different than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
And they've all sort of reached a singularity where
Yes.
they look very similar.
Well, and then it also doesn't help that every person except for like Robert Downey Jr. and Cillian Murphy completely underutilized.
Yeah.
Because you have big name people here. You've got let's see. You've got let's see, Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, Matt Damon, Gary Oldman,
Mm-hmm.
um, David Krumholtz.
Yeah.
Who the fuck else is in this?
Josh Peck, David
Josh
Hartnett,
Peck,
or
David
Josh
Hart,
Hartnett, excuse
Josh
me, Josh
Hartnett.
Hartnett.
I feel there are some other like heavy. Oh, Rami Malek.
Rami Malek is here briefly for the briefest possible moment.
Like I think if you add up his time with Gary Oldman, it's 15 minutes,
Yeah,
if that.
if even.
And so it's just like you have all these people who are just kind of drifting in and out of the movie.
Yeah,
And like, why? Because like,
yeah,
so I was talking to Kenna after the movie and talking about the how like I would just get kind of confused at times because it was so disjointed. And I was talking about the scene when Cillian Murphy is talking to Florence Pugh and telling her that he's getting divorced because he got Emily Blunt pregnant. And Kenna says they were never married.
yeah. They were never married.
I see, didn't know because it just would jump around so much.
Yeah, they're trying to do what's right. They're trying
Mhm.
not to tell you. They're trying to show you,
But they're not.
but they're not, and they're cramming in a lot of detail.
Hmm.
They're asking you very quickly to make a lot of assumptions and infer a lot of details about someone's life.
Hmm.
But to do it at a lightning pace while we interject a whole lot of like flashbacks and flash forwards,
Right. which like I know is like a typical Nolan thing.
Yeah.
The other thing that someone really needs to talk to Chris about, you have to change your sound mixing.
Mhm.
You can't have the dialogue be the quietest part of your film.
Sure.
Because it becomes very difficult to understand what's being said when everything else that happens in this movie literally shakes your organs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I gotta tell you, I feel real bad for Florence Pugh because apparently they were like, "Hey, we want you in the film, but only for you to be naked."
Yeah. A lot of nude scenes. And they've talked a mean game about the full frontal, extended full frontal between both Cillian Murphy and Florence Pugh.
Yeah, and this viewer disappointed
Yeah.
because all we got were Cillian Murphy's balls resting on a chair for a second.
Mhm.
And that's no one wants that.
Yeah. And yeah, a lot of Florence Pugh being fairly naked
Mm-hmm.
without a lot of meat on those bones.
Right.
Not on her bones, on the figurative
Yeah.
storytelling bones.
Not a lot for her to do.
Yeah, not a lot for her to do. And here's the thing about Oppenheimer's womanizing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really good window into my major problem with the first three-fifths of this film,
Mm-hmm.
which is that a biopic is supposed to give you a detailed look. We all know the history, or you can
Mm-hmm.
go onto Wikipedia and get the history. What it's
Sure.
supposed to do is give you a very vivid look at someone's personality and like convictions and who they are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really jarring to me because at one point someone says, "You're a known womanizer" to Oppenheimer. And we
Mm-hmm.
hadn't really seen that.
No, we've seen him with Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh and then his then wife,
Right.
and their kind of rocky relationship. But then later, they reveal that he's been having an affair with the coworker's wife
Mm-hmm.
for years, and it's like, what? That would have been a
It,
like
yeah.
interesting detail to show us. Instead, we get a lot of RDJ uh maneuvering.
Yeah.
So
Being mad about a time when Oppenheimer made fun of him in front of a crowd,
yeah.
which we cut to a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe just the one time would have been okay.
Yeah, just a quick callback. And one of those flash forwards would have been totally fine, or
Mm-hmm.
flashbacks. I don't know, man. Um, but yeah, it's too unorganized. I feel like if, because this is what we were talking about as a group later, comparing it to other Nolan movies, The Prestige, which we just watched,
Mm-hmm.
is a tight movie. There
Yes.
is no cruft on the
No.
Prestige bones. Um,
No.
and that's what this one and The Dark Knight also really tight,
Mm-hmm.
super tight movie. Everything that's there is vital, and I don't think that's the case for this movie,
No. No. No.
or
No.
for this chunk of the movie.
I will tell you. Last night I did read a review of this movie,
Yeah.
by Drew McGarry,
Uh-huh.
writer
Uh-huh.
that I like, writing for SF Gate, and one thing he pointed out that I actually hadn't noticed before, but I should have, is kind of weird to make a movie about the atomic bomb and talk about the horrors of the atomic bomb and not show a single Japanese face.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
Like after I read that, I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, we get these like, because okay, frequently throughout the latter half of the first third fifth three-fifths of this movie.
Two 1/5 into the movie.
Yeah. You get a lot of him imagining the destruction. Like he'll be talking to
Yes.
people and he will see them like be like evaporated by an
Yeah.
explosion, or he'll feel the rocking of an atomic
Mm-hmm.
bomb blast. There's no reason in the world we couldn't have like more call outs of the actual destruction that happened. Instead, it's
Right.
pretty glossed over. It's like, yeah, we dropped
Yeah.
a bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
There's even a scene where they're being shown, I guess, like a slideshow basically of
Yes.
things that happen there.
Yeah.
We need to see that. Like
Yeah.
it would have been horrible. I'm not saying it wouldn't have, but we the audience need to see that.
Well, it would have reinforced the stakes because Oppenheimer's whole thing later in the last part of this chunk of the movie is pushing for policy changes to preserve arms control,
Mhm.
prevent an arms race. And it would have really reinforced the need for that if we'd
Yeah,
had a focus on the destruction.
because all you have in that scene is people like watching this slideshow and just like not even like reacting really strongly,
Yeah.
just
You
getting
hear some
like,
like gasps and some
yeah,
uncomfortable
but like seeing
sounds.
just like some squirming.
Yeah.
You're just like, like people adjusting, and it's just like that's not enough.
No.
You're not showing us enough
Yeah.
to really give us the stakes.
Yeah.
And again, if you're trying to make this half of the movie, like if you're trying to get the viewer to come away from this half of the movie thinking nuclear weapons are bad
Yeah.
and we should not have them, you have to show the horrible parts.
Yeah.
It's like in Chernobyl, the miniseries.
Sure.
Like they show some rough stuff, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Fuck, nuclear energy is not like nuclear stuff is terrifying."
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and this
Or
was,
take Saving Private Ryan. If
mm-hmm,
they had skipped, I both appreciate and hate that movie because it is so hard to watch.
yeah,
And that's by design, and it should be.
yes,
Because if you're trying to convey the horrors of war,
mm-hmm,
showing you the horrors of war is important
yes.
for that movie.
Like if the D-Day scene for Saving Private Ryan had just been like a really close shot of Tom Hanks
Yeah.
and him just looking scared, doesn't work anymore.
No, it doesn't. So again, disturbing and hard to watch,
Mm-hmm.
but very effective and gets across the point in a huge way.
Absolutely. And like I it's just it made it hard to like care about stuff
Sure.
later on in the film because it's just like I but there were parts where it's just like I don't know why I'm supposed to care about this.
Well, a huge chunk of the latter half of this half of the movie is is Oppenheimer getting denied his security clearance. Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah. And this like weird sort of like witch hunty
Mm-hmm.
kind of like secret shadow hearing
Yeah,
or
it's a
whatever.
kangaroo court, sort of, but like the end result is that he doesn't have a security clearance. Was he fucking using that?
Yeah, we're not and they kind of vaguely reference like if he loses that, he loses his credibility. Why?
Why? He's still the guy that made the atomic bomb.
Yeah. And then there are other parts that like I kind of wish they had explained a little more. Like I'll be perfectly honest, when they're assembling the bomb,
Mm-hmm.
they have all these like weird sort of octagonal or hexagonal bricks.
Yeah,
What are those?
I don't know.
What I would
Beats
have
me.
liked to have known.
Yeah, I would have liked to, because again, if they cut the cruft and had focused, if they had focused 75% more on the Manhattan Project
Mm-hmm.
instead of this like witch hunt piece,
Mm-hmm.
would have been way more riveting.
Oh
Because
yeah.
the best part of this movie is the bomb test. I don't know if you agree with that, but
Oh, without it, because it
yeah.
is the tensest
Yes.
thing, and which is wild because like it works.
Yeah.
They don't blow up the world.
Yeah.
But like they do such a good job building the tension in that scene and
Yeah.
drawing out this countdown. And it's so well done that it made me mad that the rest of the movie was so kind of meandering and disjointed and bleh.
Yeah. Because that should have been basically the end.
Yes.
It should have been the March, because and then you could have bookended this movie, or ended this movie with some, honestly, give me a fucking photo reel, like a slideshow of some of the destruction that it caused, and
Yes.
then maybe followed by a speech, one of Oppenheimer's speeches about arms control or
Mm-hmm.
something. Bang, done.
Done.
Done with the
Perfect.
movie. Perfect ending. And if we had focused a lot of the effort instead on uh the Manhattan Project and that slow march and all the problems getting
Mm-hmm.
to, but instead we get stuff like they really really want you to see that this is the beginning of the Cold War. The Cold
Yeah.
War largely not very interesting because
No.
without going into specifics about like spying and
Mm-hmm.
like the space race or something like that, just like this began the Cold War is not an interesting thesis.
No. And then like they talk about spying a lot, but like they never mention the Rosenbergs,
Yeah,
who like didn't they spy at the Manhattan Project?
I don't know that if it was at the Manhattan Project. Maybe it
Okay.
was. I don't think it was, but around the same time period for
Yeah.
sure.
And then like when they do reveal that one of the characters was a spy, it comes out of fucking nowhere.
And it's not really dwelt upon. Like
No,
it's
it's
just
just like,
like,
oh,
oh
turns
yeah,
out he was a double agent.
he was a double agent. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Um,
So there are pieces of this movie that really work for me,
mhm.
and then large chunks that I just feel adrift in.
Yeah, and it's so aggressively dour, which I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it has a right to be.
Yeah.
And then what I will say is I am glad I saw this in a theater.
Mm.
Normally I don't care about it, but the fact that particularly during the bomb test, that the sound design is done so well,
Yeah.
um, that like you feel the rumble, like legitimately feel it shaking you, and like it makes it that much more powerful in a way that I don't think would have been as effective
No,
at
it's
home.
it is mind blowing because that scene you see the explosion, the
Mm-hmm.
huge mushroom cloud, and then you know it's coming, but you don't know when.
Mm-hmm.
Then the shockwave hits, and because you
Yes.
see it in a theater, it really, like you said, does rattle your bones,
Yes.
and you feel it in your body, and it's really cool. That was a cool scene.
Really well done. But it felt like work
Yeah.
watching this half of the movie.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it did.
Now I do want to tell you just a fun fact. I watched back in college an opera about the Manhattan Project
Damn.
called Dr. Atomic.
Okay, this sounds really good.
So I will read you the description of it because I don't remember a ton of I remember a couple things about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is an opera by the contemporary American composer John Adams with libretto, that's the words, by Peter Sellers. It premiered at the San Francisco Opera on October 1st, 2005. The work focuses on how leading figures at Los Alamos dealt with the great stress and anxiety of preparing for the test of the first atomic bomb. And so it's like, if memory serves, it takes a lot of writings from Oppenheimer's like journals from the time and uses that in it.
Yeah, I didn't
Um,
even know he journaled.
I believe
That
so,
wasn't in
yeah,
the yeah, that wasn't in this half of the movie at all.
because he and and again, it's been a minute since I read about this. He was really into John Donne, I believe, the philosopher, or oh God, I'm talking out of my ass here.
Yeah, it's
Um,
okay.
but yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
want to say he did a lot of like writing about like philosophy
Which
about
would
this stuff,
I
and
guess
like
it's yeah,
and I was kind of looking for that because it
yeah,
had been such a big part of this opera. Also, I think you would be interested to hear like what characters are in this opera.
sure,
So it's Oppenheimer and his wife, General Groves, Edward Teller, Robert Wilson. I kind of don't remember.
yeah,
Frank Hubbard, also don't super remember. Captain James Nolan, and then Pasqualita. Don't know who the fuck that is.
yeah,
But a much smaller cast. Um, the opera is all in English. and there are
Which is,
not a lot of operas in English.
yeah, we've talked about before off the podcast, is not traditionally a great language
No, and
for
there's
opera.
yeah, because let me tell you, this opera when I watched it sucks. It's terrible. I took so to
Oh
get kind of
no.
to get off topic. So I took two music classes in college from the same professor because he was an awesome professor. One was let's see, history of jazz, excellent class,
Sure.
and intro to opera, also excellent. Shout out to Dr. Krebs. And both of these classes, towards the end of it, you were given either a jazz album or a an opera, and you had to just write a review of it.
Yeah.
For both of these classes, I hated the product that I had to review. I mean, I wrote like scathing reviews because one was for the jazz one, I forget the specific album, but it was like real synthy.
It's probably some Chick Corea
It
album.
was Chick Corea, yes.
Yeah.
And I remember that in my review, which I had to present to the class, I said it sounded just like porn music, like
Mhm.
low rent porn music. And it was so bad. And like, let me tell you, the people in that history jazz course did not appreciate what I had to say. But Dr. Krebs was like, yeah, he's not wrong. And I was like, fuck yes. And then it was kind of the same thing with this. And I was like, I promise I do like opera and jazz, my guy. I just
Yeah.
hate these.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I do believe like he journaled a lot. And I don't know
Hmm.
why that wasn't here.
We could have pulled, that's what I was gonna say a second ago, is why not pull quotes from his life and intersperse
Yeah.
his narrative with the movie, which is something you kind of traditionally do with biopics.
Hmm.
Like there's a wealth, if there's a wealth of source material that he wrote or people wrote about him at
Hmm.
firsthand stuff, then like fucking use it, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Oppenheimer, John Donne.
Okay.
Uh, let's see here. This is from the Los Alamos National Laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was John Donne, who was a poet, and apparently he was like, yeah, two of his he loved literature, and two of his influences were John Donne and the Hindu scripture Bhagavad Gita,
Mm-hmm.
which we do get that
Yeah, we do get
sort of
that.
just the one quote, but yeah, um, was John Donne was one of his favorite writers and an inspiration during his work at the Manhattan Project. Why don't we get that, Chris?
Mm-mm.
Why?
Yeah, nothing. Not a fucking word about that.
Mm-mm, not at all. Um, let me see. I will say, Kenna briefly fell asleep during this part of the
Mm.
movie. Um, Casey Affleck is here, and I'm pretty sure he's a
Is he?
rapist. Yeah,
Where?
he's the guy who's like the colonel, who's like the communist hunter.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah,
Okay. Because
that's
I don't
Casey
remember seeing
Affleck.
him in the cast list.
I think
Um,
he's hidden because isn't he a rapist?
do not
I
know
th-
at all, my man.
I think he was accused of some stuff.
Okay. Could
So
be.
couldn't figure out why he was here.
Yeah.
Um, and then I do have a bit of a conspiracy corner.
Ah, this is Casey Affleck. You're for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual harassment allegations, for sure, for sure, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. All right, it's not stacking up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I just wanted to make sure before
Yeah,
we.
no, I mean, look, we're putting this out there, so we should probably fact check ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Not great. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to hear my conspiracy?
I would love to hear your conspiracy corner.
So, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, forget his first name,
Strauss. Yeah.
Um, he did not get confirmed to Eisenhower's cabinet as the Secretary of Commerce, I believe.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why is there were a few senators who broke with the party.
I
And
think I
one
know where
of
you're going
them
with this. Yeah.
was a young John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Sure.
And as we know, Strauss held a grudge against even the smallest slight. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think what he did
Ah.
is that he spent the rest of his days, because I don't know when he died, but he spent the rest of his days getting close to an upstart Texan politician, Lyndon Baines Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
convincing him that John Fitzgerald Kennedy needed to die.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so LBJ did end up killing JFK.
Yeah, which we know is a fact. I mean,
Yeah, we
that's
all know it.
yeah.
Um, do you want to talk about the last 2/5 of this movie, or do you have more thoughts about the first bit?
I think we're pressed for time. It's time to move on
I
to the
feel like for
less.
a supersized movie like this, again, 6 hours of sit.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, it's going to be a long episode.
yeah, I think we can go a bit long.
Yeah. I don't know
Um,
that I have too much else to say
yeah.
about the first 3/5 though. Other than the casting is really solid minus Casey Affleck,
Mm-hmm.
folks. Because well, one, I think partially they made this movie because Nolan was like, anybody else think Cillian Murphy looks exactly like Oppenheimer, who is a weird looking dude? So they cast him, of
Yeah.
course. But like David Krumholtz is fantastic in this
Yes.
movie.
So good.
Whoever's playing Albert Einstein does a wonderful job.
Very good job, though. I don't know if I was just tired or what. Their final conversation, I didn't, I don't recall it at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
And
Yeah,
I
it was
don't,
unimportant. It didn't
it,
matter.
but the movie was like, this is significant.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm tapped out.
But anyway, it's just my point being that pretty much everybody that's cast here,
Minus
well,
Casey Affleck.
one, minus Casey Affleck. If you look up who they're supposed to be playing, bears a striking resemblance to the people they're
Oh,
supposed to be
yeah?
playing. Someone made an article and compared the historical figures to the people
Ooh,
playing them.
okay.
Very like well cast.
Damn.
And then everybody's a world class talent. So
Mm-hmm.
that was phenomenal. Yeah, dude, that's basically all I have to say about
Yeah.
this business.
So, let's take, I don't know, like an hour and a half intermission in this episode, and then we'll come back and talk
Yeah,
about the last 2/5 of the movie.
we'll record the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go eat some lunch.
Yeah, sounds good.
You just eating lunch at your desk?
Oh, are we really doing this?
No, God, no. Jesus.
Okay.
I just thought maybe you'd get up.
Oh no, I'm too lazy for that.
Yeah. Um. So,
Yeah.
the last 2/5 of this movie, a
Yeah.
big tonal shift.
Totally tonal. Yeah. I mean, again, suddenly it's about a doll named Barbie,
Mm-hmm.
which is, totally new to me. This is,
Yeah. It's all pink, very saturated.
yeah.
What'd you think?
This one's hard.
This one's hard, huh?
Yeah, this half of the movie is hard. Because here's the thing, I feel like large chunks of this movie are not meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they
you're
have them.
not a woman, not a
I'm not a
not a
woman.
mother.
I'm not a mother. They don't, there's messages here that are clearly intended for me to hear and
Mm-hmm.
not speak upon.
Mm, yeah,
I do not really, I'm not entitled to an opinion on large chunks of the themes of this movie
sure.
because it ain't meant for me. So, this movie was wildly different, or this half of the movie was wildly different than I expected.
Yeah,
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 I had heard nothing about this half of the movie at all.
yeah. Nothing. They kept it
Um,
pretty quiet.
yeah, and I hadn't read any reviews, didn't know anybody who'd seen it until we watched it, finished up after the intermission, and wow, it was wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
Way heavier than I was
Yeah.
expecting. I guess it's not true that I hadn't heard anything, because you see these Ryan Gosling interviews where
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about Kenergy and really inhabiting the space of Ken.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's a different space
Mm-hmm.
than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So I'm still undecided. Sam, what did you think?
Loved it.
Really? Okay.
I fucking had such a blast
Nice.
in this part of the movie. I honestly I found this to be the infinitely better part
Really?
of Barbenheimer.
Okay.
Um, you know me, we've watched movies together. I'm not a big laugh out loud guy.
You're not. You're also traditionally not if it doesn't march straight ahead like the Hunt for Red October, you're usually not on board. You're not a fan of the
I
surreal.
I can enjoy God damn it, Luke. I can enjoy a different movie.
Okay.
There are movies that I like that are unconventional, that aren't
Mm-hmm.
just straightforward. I contain multitudes, Luke.
Sure. Yeah,
I
you're
can love a
capable of
dad
it.
flick. I can enjoy, I don't know, fucking trying to think of
Um,
something.
yeah,
Uh,
Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer,
Barbenheimer. Yeah.
sure. Or fuck, Prestige, I guess. I don't know if that counts as
No,
no.
that was pretty straight ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of movies that are a little more out there, but I can't think of any right now. Anyway, Schindler's List. I mean, it's straight ahead, but it's a real different vibe. But I can appreciate that flick and like not like enjoy, but
Sure.
you know what I mean.
Sure.
Fuck, man, I like opera.
Yeah.
So anyway, I contain
Mm-hmm.
multitudes, is what I'm trying to say. I'm an
Yeah, for
enigma.
sure.
Um,
That you are. Can I
yes.
say? I never know what you're going to say. Sometimes we'll watch a thing and I'll be like, I'm pretty sure Sam's gonna hate this, or I'll be like, I'm pretty sure Sam's gonna like it. Sometimes. Other
Mm-hmm.
times, like this, the second half of this movie, couldn't have called it. Had no
No,
clue.
my guy, I laughed so fucking hard.
Nice.
Like the jokes landed so well for me. I had like I was constantly laughing, busting up in a big way, like
Yeah.
good body shaking laughs.
Yeah.
Um, I loved it, and like unlike in the first 3/5, I don't feel like there's a wasted shot here.
Yeah. Definitely not.
This
Yeah.
feels really concise. Now, what I will grant you, and this is what Drew McGarry pointed out, this is an ad.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Well,
2 hour long ad.
not only is it an ad for Mattel's Barbie, which again
Mm-hmm.
is a weird shift to do a whole movie about, or excuse me, a whole like first half of the movie being about the atomic bomb, and then the
Mm-hmm.
second half being a Mattel ad.
Mm-hmm.
It is also a huge ad for Chevrolet
What
because
I mean, I so that's the wild thing is I was really expecting, the Barbie, product placement.
yeah.
Was not expecting Chevy to feature so heavily.
There's a fucking scene where they're in a car chase and then somebody manipulates the smart car dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
They're this close to going. And the new Chevy Blazer, you can turn off the
Yes.
music with the tap of a
Because
button.
usually movies go through pains not to show you the make and model of the car.
Yeah.
This is not one
This
of
is
those.
not one of
This
those.
is one where I mean, like kind of quickly, but definitely slower than a lot of other shots, slides past the Chevy Blazer
Yeah.
on the back of this, again, kind of beautiful vehicle. Would I
Yeah.
buy a Chevy Blazer? Fuck no.
No.
But it's a good looking car.
It's a good looking vehicle.
And if it's
Yeah.
good enough for America Ferrera,
Yeah.
you know.
This is 1,000% an ad though.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
it's pink propaganda.
Yes.
Uh yeah,
But
pink lace propaganda.
it's such a well made ad.
Yeah.
And it's just
It's
so like um unapologetic
yeah,
in,
it's a good word
in a
for it.
way that I really respect.
Yeah.
It is unapologetic about the humor that it makes. Like there are extended jokes about beaching people off.
Yeah.
And like again, I thought this was going to be more of like a kid-friendly film, and it is not,
It is
I would
not.
say.
It's not
Um,
aimed at kids like at all.
no, but you would imagine a movie called
Oh,
Barbie
yeah, no, I'm
would be,
saying I'm with you. I'm saying it. Yeah, I would have expected it to be. It is
yeah,
not.
no,
Even the message here is not for kids.
yeah. And it's unapologetic about its stand on like gender politics, shit, just like social politics in general.
Sure.
And I don't know. I think it has some really awesome things to say. And I did not cry, but I got verklempt.
Oh, verklempt.
Verklempt.
Okay. Damn. When's the last time that happened to you in a movie?
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, probably.
Yeah, that's been
Ooh,
a minute, man.
actually no. Honestly, probably either Hardball or Chirac, which was,
Really?
for the other
For
product.
the other product, yeah, the other
Um,
podcast.
but um, but no, Hardball
Yeah,
got me.
Hardball was tough. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
and
tough. And
Chirac too. I mean, was really tough
yeah,
at times.
very true. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would put this on the same level as like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in terms of like
Damn.
I think how effective its message is and like how
Yeah.
much it lands for me at that time.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I think that's fair. Yeah.
because I had to, at least amongst our group, not a lot of dry eyes.
Yeah, really got my wife this
Mm-hmm.
movie. Yeah, I got her real good.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, no, I ended up not taking many notes at all.
Sure.
Just because I was so engrossed. Um, but it's also I don't know. There's something about it that I thought was just like really cool in how it was done because like all the props. I don't know. It felt very like thought through, and
Yeah.
that like all the props look like props, but in like a fun way.
Yeah, actually it's a good point that about both chunks of this movie, the movie as a whole, something we can actually say about the
Mm-hmm.
movie as a whole. I don't think there's maybe there's a little CGI in the back half. There's not a lot.
No.
And in the first half, there's no CGI. There's not a single CGI shot. This makes both halves of this movie, the entire movie, look fantastic.
So good and will age beautifully.
Beautifully. Yeah.
Yeah, do practical effects, folks.
Practical effects are where it's at. Barbenheimer will stand the test of time
Mm-hmm.
as looking just great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not you did the humor land for you or was it just like tell me where you're at?
I don't know. I'm still parsing this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The themes made me very uncomfortable as designed
Because you hate women.
because I hate women. No,
Yeah.
um, no, kind of the opposite because I am a diehard feminist. Um, a lot of this was like they point at a lot of things in the patriarchy that
Mm-hmm.
suck,
Mm-hmm.
and so there was a lot of this movie that I'm like, yeah, that blows. That's definitely a really shitty thing that happens to women.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of the time being preoccupied by just parsing through. Yeah, no, these things suck, and being a
Mm-hmm.
woman is basically impossible, as
Yes.
they say in this movie. So yeah, but then there's a lot of content in this part of the movie that is aimed at. It's got a message specifically for women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, I don't feel like I really get to play in that space. Not that I should. This isn't me
Right,
being Ben
yeah.
Shapiro saying like, well, this movie wasn't made for men. But yeah, it just wasn't meant for me. So I don't have a lot to say about the themes other
Mm-hmm.
than they definitely like pointed a lot of things that are genuinely horrible.
Yeah.
And it made me very uncomfortable to think about masculinity in
Mm-hmm.
this context. Not that there's really any good side to masculinity. Um,
I would push back against that. I
okay.
I think you cannot say that masculinity as a whole is negative.
Hmm.
I think the way we typically see it, sure. And
Sure.
I think there are good examples of masculinity
Mm,
around. I think there is, just like you can have like turfs.
sure.
Um, I think, you know, like both can be performed if you'll allow me, in healthy and unhealthy ways.
Sure.
You know, the like obviously toxic masculinity is much more of a thing, but like there are positive ways to be masculine,
I'll give you
I
Mr.
think.
Rogers. I
Mr.
think
Rogers.
Mr. Rogers is a great example of positive masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true alpha male right there.
There
People
you
don't
go.
say it enough, but Mr. Rogers,
He fucks.
true alpha male.
Oh, true alpha male, yes. But no, I would not write off the whole of masculinity as like that as a concept being purely negative.
Sure.
Um, because I think that actually ends up doing a disservice it's something I kind of think about a lot through work, which I won't talk about.
Yeah.
Um, but I think if you don't show an example of a good way to be masculine and to be a man,
Yeah.
that you only then provide opportunities for toxic masculinity.
That's fair.
And like positive male role models, I think are really important, and few and far between.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I don't know. It's something that I feel pretty strongly about. Just
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah.
because my last part
Yeah.
is that for many things, we men are the problem.
Yeah.
For most things,
For
maybe all
most
of them.
things throughout history. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can't expect women to fix it.
Yeah.
Not in that I think they are incapable of it, more than capable of it. It would be a disservice to say, women, you fix it.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think a good example of what you're saying, Taika Waititi recently gave a speech
mhm,
somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but it was making the rounds on Instagram. So I ran into it. And the gist is that somebody asked him, how do you feel about diversity and inclusion as far as native voices go, indigenous voices, and how do we fix it? And he got really mad, really
mhm.
justifiably, because he said, don't look to me to fix it. You fucked up. You're the
Yeah,
ones who came and stole the land and suppressed the voices. And now that I
mhm,
have a seat at the table, everyone, you like to think that you've solved the problem or we're on the route to fixing it. That's not on. Don't. It's like burning someone's house down, I think is what he said, and then saying, "Well, now you get to rebuild your house, and we'll be here to help you. But if you do it wrong, we'll burn it down again."
exactly.
So I think to your point, it is not on women to fix it.
No, we have to
Yeah,
take ownership of the genuine harm that we've
yeah,
done.
yeah, and acknowledge
And,
the harm and make corrective measures. Yeah.
yes, and
Um,
I think the only way to do that is to again perform masculinity in a much more positive way.
sure, that's fair.
Um, so yeah, that is our earnest part
Yeah,
of
extremely
this
earnest.
dumb podcast.
I think it's a really good earnest part. That was really informative and helpful. I did have a lot of fun with this movie to
Mm-hmm.
pivot back.
Yeah,
I
this
think
just it felt like a really easy watch. I don't
it
know.
was, yeah, it was really easy. Outside of the parts that made me uneasy, but were
Mm-hmm.
designed to make me uneasy.
Yes.
So I think one of my favorite parts is Alan. Uh,
Oh God, Michael Sarah being Michael Sarah.
because here's what we said later. They had to cast Alan, which is Ken's nondescript friend, just
Mm-hmm.
like generic friend person Alan.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you cast? It's Michael Sarah immediately.
10
That's the
times out of
person.
10. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
who you pick.
We need a generic dude
Mm-hmm.
who's just gonna vibe and be
Ge-
kind of awkward.
Importantly, generic, non-threatening dude.
Non-threatening dude.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's another part of this too that my roomie pointed out to me, and I adore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will say, gay representation in this movie is pretty slim to none, um, with the exception of some gay actors being here. Kate
Mm-hmm.
McKinnon's on board. That's fun. But there is one guy and he
Mm-hmm.
is a canonically gay Ken because
Mm-hmm.
Sam, there's their earring Barbie shows up at the weird Barbie
Yes.
house.
Gay icon Ken.
Gay icon, or sorry, excuse me, earring Ken. In the original run of these, they based them on ravers at the time, gay ravers. And do you know what's
Yeah.
hanging around his neck?
No.
It's a cock ring.
So what some friends were telling me after is that like at the time people were like Ken's really not cool and we need to
Mhm.
make a cool Ken. And so they were like, okay, we'll make a cool Ken and we'll give him one earring.
Yeah.
And that he became a gay icon
Yeah.
and that it was the best-selling Ken of all time.
Yeah, I'd believe that. Yeah, and in the original run, they just based it on gay ravers at the time,
Mm-hmm.
which I love that someone either didn't know or really knew. And we're
I
like,
love
cool,
the
huh?
idea of some like straight-laced white dude was like,
Yeah.
these guys seem pretty cool.
These guys seem righteous.
These guys are
Uh,
cool as hell.
so he went down to the Eagle and found these guys. But yeah, in the original run, he's got a necklace, quote unquote, that is literally just a cock ring. And I don't
Love it.
know if either, like you said, it's some straight-laced exec who didn't realize,
Mm-hmm.
or someone snuck it under the radar at the Mattel company and got him to mass produce guys wearing cock rings in one earring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's phenomenal. Love that he's in this movie.
Yes.
Um, yeah, no, I had a really good time. And the aesthetic is fucking on point.
So good. And it's just, I don't know, it's really fun. So like there's the Ken battle scene that I thought was just so fucking fun.
Mm.
Um, just really well done that turns into just like synchronized
A
dancing.
synchronized dance to like 80s synth pop.
Yes,
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
the music is really good
Mm-hmm.
and adds to a lot of the humor. Um, I don't know. It's one of those movies kind of like The Burbs where I feel like I could watch this a lot and find something new every time I watch it.
Yeah,
It just felt very densely packed.
yeah. It was a pretty good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to get out of here?
Yeah, I guess it's about that time, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, folks, thanks for being members of the Patreon. You let us do dumb shit like this.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, love that we get to do things like spend 8 hours in a movie theater. For you. And yeah, so thank you all. A special shout out to Hanks's Heroes. That's Tuck and Daniel. And
Yep.
fellas, I won't nuke you.
Oh,
Yeah, you're
that's
welcome for that.
that's a good one.
That's
Yeah,
a good one.
you want that guarantee.
You want it because I have them.
You got them. Got
Yeah.
them locked and loaded.
Yeah, I do. Luke, do you have a final quote?
I do. It's actually not verbally said,
Okay.
but it is on Ken's sweater, and it says, "I am Kenough."
Excellent.
Yeah,
Love it.
pretty good.
Fantastic. Well, folks, thanks for listening to another episode of Hanksy Panksy Patreon. We'll be back sometime.